Hey guys, Alex Kahn here. We are going to take a look at this 1/18th scale uh, sealed model made by NOREV. By sealed model, I mean nothing opens on this model. And this is apparently based off of the Porsche 911 scene in the opening scene of the 1971 Le Mans movie starring Steve McQueen. If that's the case, there are quite a few inaccuracies with this model. But before we talk about any inaccuracies, I do want to talk about this packaging first. So yeah, this is my first no rev purchase like ever. I was very curious about it though because when I was looking on eBay, I saw that this was touted as the 1970 Porsche 911S from Le Mans. But yeah, you can see on the box is very minimal, and nowhere on the box did it say anywhere that it has any connections to the Steve McQueen Le Mans movie. But clearly, there are some references to that movie. Well, mainly the license plates. Those are the exact license plates that you see in the opening scene of Le Mans or Le Mans. But yeah, the box is very minimalistic. Like there's a lot of clear panels so that you can see the car from one side. You can see it from the front and rear, and if you turn the box over, you can see the car from its roof. And on the back of the box, it just says no rev collectors. So yeah, nowhere on there does it say Steve McQueen. It doesn't say anything about the Le Mans movie, but clearly this is a reference. This car is a reference to the car in the Le Mans movie based on the license plate itself, which is very specific. It's kind of cool when you take it out of the box. It's in this little black compartment, which you can actually just put it on display like that. But for the video, I took it out so that you can see it in all of its glory. But yeah, this car, as I said, there is nothing opening on this car. You want my gloves, guys? You want my gloves? But yeah, let's talk about some of the inaccuracies of this car. And honestly, they're all on the front here, which I guess we'll have to wait for it to spin back around. But yeah, let me talk about some things that are correct while we're here then. So the color seems to be correct. This is called slate gray. The box says it's dark gray, but it's a slate gray. It's got the proper Fuchs wheels on them. And it's a driver's side car, which is kind of unusual since the movie takes place in France. And here is the correct license plate on the back. Now the rear seems to be pretty accurate based on the movie. But as we come to the front, I'm going to show you some of the inaccuracies. And nothing to show here. This is the same look as on the other side of this car. But we are coming around to the front here. Now you see this. This should be more orange. In the movie, the back tail lights are clearly red. They did not match the color of the front turn signal lights, the indicators. So this should definitely be a lot more distinct than the rear tail lights. This should be more orange. Also, there should be a bumper guards in the front here, and the license plate should be on this section right here, not down here. And on the headlights, there should be a lot more chrome accents around the headlights. And those are the major things. But another major thing, which I can point out, this. The movie clearly shows a roof down view of the car, so you can see that it is a sunroof car. There is nothing here, no sunroof, except for my reflection. So if they're going to put the Le Mans license plates on this car, then, oh man, they should have been a little bit more accurate. So the problem with cars like this is it's basically a reskin of other 1970 Porsche 911S's made by NOREV. They just recolored it and slapped on the movie license plate on it. And honestly, that's kind of lazy to me. Like, I do like this model, but there are so many glaring inaccuracies with the movie, which they clearly were trying to replicate the movie, but at the same time, they cut a lot of corners, which they did not think people would realize. But yeah, having no sunroof on top is a huge bummer. The license plate could have easily been moved to the correct position, and these bumper guards could have easily been put on here. And this turn signal indicator could have been a bit more orange than that. So those are my biggest gripes with this car. Oh, let me show you the bottom. So with these gloves, I can actually touch this. So this is NOREV, nothing else. I don't think it's made in China, which I thought Porsche was made in Germany. But yeah, if you guys have seen Le Mans or Le Mans, I have made a review on this movie, and honestly, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. Like, I can appreciate the hard work that they put into making the actual race percentage of this movie, because it was great. Like, just from a car perspective, what they did to film this was incredible. They took a lot of shots from the actual Le Mans race, and then they filmed separate pieces with the same drivers, and they actually performed very dangerous things just for filming the movie. Probably even more dangerous than the race itself, the actual race. But yeah, this car is in the first 7 minutes of the movie. And in the first 7 minutes of the movie, it's just this car driving through the French countryside. Steve McQueen's driving it. And at some point, he sees the widow of a fellow race car driver. He looks at her, and then he has a flashback to when her husband was racing against him. I'm assuming that was against him because it's his flashback. But the husband dies in a crash. So Steve McQueen might have had some kind of role in her husband's crash. It's hard to say based on the opening scene. But he closes his door and then he drives off after kind of stalking the widow. He drives off and he finds the crash site to where this all went down. So it's kind of a reflective opening, and nothing's said at all in the beginning. It just shows his car driving, and then based on his verbal interactions staring at the widow, you can kind of surmise what happens. But that's the only time you see this car in the movie. It's the first 7 minutes, which honestly, 7 minutes is a long time for a car to be in a movie. There's a lot of hero cars that get even less time than that. And I would say this is not really the hero car in this movie, because I'd probably put one of the race car Porsches as the hero car. But, this could very well be translated as one. Whatever the case, this was my favorite car in that movie. I say in a lot of my reviews that I'm not a big fan of pure race car movies, even though I love car movies themselves. There's very few exceptions to the race car movies that I do like. I loved Days of Thunder. I loved Ford versus Ferrari. I even liked Talladega Nights, but Le Mans, it just wasn't doing it for me. I could not watch that movie more than once. I need a bit more of a story to it. But I did like the way it started off. I just wish there was more of that kind of that stuff happening throughout the movie, as opposed to just being a straight up race. But again, it was filmed very, very amazingly, and the car things that they did were amazing. It's just, as a viewer, I didn't appreciate what I was seeing. So yeah, this is the NOREV 1970 Porsche 911S, based off of the Porsche seen in the opening scene of Steve McQueen's Le Mans movie. Apparently, the real version of this car, it sold for $1.375 million out in Pebble Beach. I think it was 2011 it happened. It was some time for the auction, but it was a record breaker when it sold for that much for a 911. So, what are your thoughts on this diecast model? Do the inaccuracies upset you? What did you think of the Steve McQueen Le Mans movie? Were you not a fan like myself, or did you just love it completely? So, that's all I got to say about this car. Again, I wish some things would open up, like the doors at least. Oh yeah, it does turn. Yeah, sorry. Good. And the steering wheel actually turns with it too. So at least there's that. All right, guys, post your thoughts in the comment section. I do like this car. I just don't like the inaccuracies.